guide you today through this conference on presenting the success stories and future challenges we have been working on in the EcoRegion project. I'm very glad and very happy to see so many faces of the enlarged EcoRegion family here today. They are not completely new to us, since many of you will also find your pictures back in many of those publications, which were sort of not only designed within the EcoRegion partnership, but where all our partners have been very heavily engaged over the course of the last 3 years in sort of spreading the word on EcoRegion and engaging you and getting your perspectives, your view on how to develop the Baltic Sea region into the world's first ecoregion. We all know sustainable development is about bringing economics, environment and social factors together. We know that dialogue and integration of different perspectives is the core driver for this sustainable development, but we also all know that this is quite difficult to achieve on practical level. So over the course of the last 3 years, we have been heavily engaged in cross-sectoral, inter-regional, regional, sectoral dialogue in various formats. We had numerous workshops. We have been designing these perspectives where we have been in contact with many of you, and ultimately we have been coming up with these findings where we are showing the lessons learned from each individual partner, from their perspective, from their sectoral perspective, from their regional perspective, as well as sort of indicating future steps which have been developed in focus groups where these regions and sectors, as well as policymakers, have engaged in a dialogue together to identify what are sort of the lines for the future in terms of getting our Baltic Sea region into the real world's first ecoregion. So I'm very happy that we were able to organize this final conference where we wanted to sort of discuss with all of you, have a final dialogue ultimately to go through these findings, to seek what are the future steps. Therefore, today is a busy day, and it's not a day of presentations only, but it's hopefully also a day for a lot of dialogue, individual engagement with each other, and that's also how we have designed this conference. There are, on purpose, quite a number of lengthy coffee breaks, guided tours through the marketplaces, workshops with panelists and discussion points. And from my side, only the message to you: please make this dialogue as active and busy as possible today. So please, really, when you have something to say, stand up and engage in this dialogue. So this is all from my side for now. I will sort of, from time to time then again indicate to you how the conference is progressing and what is your role supposed to be, how active you should be. But first I would now like to give the floor to EcoRegion, who is the Deputy Mayor of Gdyni, probably also having a busy time here this autumn with the Polish presidency, and probably running from many conferences to others. And I'm very happy that we found the time for our EcoRegion conference. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad that you decided to meet in Gdyni for the final conference of EcoRegion project. I should say good morning all travelers, because we are on the way. We are on the way to the world's first eco-region. I think we meet in Pomeranian Science and Technology Park, and I think I should say a few words about this venue, about this place, because Pomeranian Science and Technology Park is now one of the leading parks in Poland. And it's also somehow unique, because we have here, of course, IT, biotechnology, design, but also here in Gdynia we focus on other issues like environmental issues, and we have environmental module here in Science and Technology Park, and we have also social innovation module here. So, and I can see in this room some people, some from the entities, private and public entities, which are here in this park, which are working on ecological issues or social innovation issues. Reviewing the EcoRegion findings, I find out that there are some topics which are somehow familiar for us as City of Gdynia, like promoting youth democracy, air quality improvement measures, or electrification of the road transportation. If you will go out from this building, you will see trolley buses. Gdynia is one of 3 cities in Poland which has trolley bus transport, and in our city it has the biggest share, and we are still increasing it. But at the same time I was able to see different topics which are not covered in our activities as local government. So I am truly convinced that we will be able somehow to benefit from good practices which were worked out in this project. Finally, what is very important, since local government was re-established in Poland 20 years ago, in Gdynia we treat the Baltic region as a kind of priority in our foreign policy. Of course, we have also local governments in which we cooperate with in other parts of Europe and the world, but definitely the Baltic Ring, the ring of the cities, we have twin cities in each Baltic state. It was the most important direction of our international cooperation. So I'm very happy that some recommendations for future policies for Baltic region will be worked out here in Gdynia. So I wish you very good conference. I wish you good dialogue. Have a good time in Gdynia. Thank you.
Now I would like to give the floor to Gerhard Almer. We are very happy that Mr. Almer is with us. He's the special ambassador for the German presidency of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. So he's the head of the task force which has been established for this 1 year, preparing and coordinating the German presidency of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. He has been working before in EU enlargement and neighborhood policy, and I think he will sort of introduce himself better than I can do with many more words. Mr. Almer.
Yes, thank you for the kind invitation, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you for being here. Seaport city of Gdynia, very dynamic, maybe less known abroad than Gdansk and Sopot, but certainly not less important. So I think it's a good choice to be here. You mentioned already your activities, environmental policy and sustainable development, and of course Gdynia is also part of the Polish presidency, and this is quite, and in fact this shows also part of our work. We have a task force founded in Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the Council of Baltic Sea States presidency. At the same time, we are also responsible for EU Baltic Sea strategy and for the cooperation between EU and CBSS. And I think this is something which is very familiar for you, for Baltic 21 and for the EcoRegion project, because you are part of Baltic Sea region strategy and you're also part of CBSS. And one could even say maybe you were a front runner in this cooperation. Because yesterday the Council of Ministers in Brussels was meeting, General Affairs Council, preparing Council conclusions on a review of the EU Baltic Sea strategy. And if you read them carefully, what you can find there, for the first time there's an officially mentioning of the Council of Baltic Sea States. And mentioning CBSS as a forum for cooperation between EU countries in the Baltic Sea and third countries, especially Russia. So we have now, let's say, you have now an official blessing. You have now we have an official document of reference for something we are practicing for a certain time. So I think it's why it's important and why it's very well justified to say you're a kind of a front runner. Maybe I can take that so I'd like to take this opportunity here also to tell you a little bit more about the CBSS and about the activities of a presidency, just to show, well, what family you're part of. Because Baltic 21 is not so long time ago that they joined CBSS, and so I think it's quite good to give you some information on that. How does it? Oh, just work like that. No. Okay. Well, that works. Okay. So in fact, the CBSS existing for 20 years. For 20 years, that's why we call him a pioneer of regional cooperation. Was founded in a time was quite different from today. It provides intergovernmental platform for regional cooperation, and we are the only organization in the region that meets on a political level and which gives strategic political guidance. I think this is quite important, that you have regularly foreign ministers meeting and heads of government meeting, and so then, let's say, showing the way where to go. I think it is also important for the practical work you do. At a certain moment, you need some political blessing from the top, from capitals, and I think that's maybe even if, as the mayor said, we have local self-government now, as in other countries too, in Germany too, but sometimes also in Germany we need Berlin. I'm sure sometimes here you need Warsaw. So I think it's good to have that. So we have this political structure, and of course we have network and project-based activities. So as you do in ECO. And oh, sorry, that was too quick. Well, there's one important element in CBSS. We have all Baltic Sea states as members, which is quite important difference between EU activities. In the EU, we don't have Russia. Russia is an external partner for the EU. Within the CBSS, Russia is a member, as others too. So the CBSS framework gives us possibility to cooperate with Russia on equal footing. And at the same time, we also have the European Commission as a member of CBSS. So also for them, it's possible to have the link between EU activities and CBSS activities. So that's also, I think, the advantage for you to be in the CBSS framework, to have possibility to include Russia in a better way. Well, then of course we have many. So as I said, we have we have a network, many partners, many strategic partners. It's also one of the advantages of CBSS that we have this network with other organizations. I mean, what is important here for you, of course, is Helsinki Commission, and of course what you're doing is quite has to be linked to maritime environmental protection. But there are also others, more economic or political, and also BSSC, the sub-regional organizations, where the German Länder and also the Polish voivodeships are participating. And well, that's about organization of CBSS. We have the Secretariat, Deputy Secretary General is here, Mr. Borisovas. We have the Committee of Senior Officials, CSO, so I'm presiding the CSO for the moment, which is giving guidance, political guidance, and making the important decisions. And then we have the we have ministerials and summits, I come to that later. And then of course we have to work with network, project and communication work. You see these 5 circles, the 5 long-term priorities. I come to that later. Well, first before talking about long-term priorities, I'd say something on our specific German presidency priorities. One of the, so we have 4 like that. First is what we call the southeastern Baltic Sea area. So it's maybe a little bit clumsy notion, but we had no better idea how to name it. But what we have to realize, and of course you know here too, in this region, there still is a difference in the level of development between the west and northwest of Baltic Sea and the east and the southeast. Though being member of the European Union since 2004, though being very dynamic in Poland, still there's a certain way to go. So what we want to do is kind of developing a regional modernization program. We have bilateral program of Germany, Russia, for example, other member states. We have EU, Russia, but we don't have it on a regional level. So what we would like to do is to give an impulse for development of Kaliningrad Oblast and improving links with neighboring areas. So it's not just Russia in itself or Kaliningrad Oblast in itself, but it's improving links with the Oblast. And that's why we call it Southeastern Baltic Sea area, and encompassing not just Kaliningrad or St. Petersburg, but also the Baltic states, the Polish coast, even Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, the northeast of Germany, is Southeastern Baltic Sea area. And questions how we can improve links and work on common projects. So I think one important step forward will be made soon, when there will be decision on the local border traffic, visa-free between Kaliningrad Oblast and the neighboring and Polish neighboring areas. I think this will be quite important here also for the region here, but there can be done much more. And, yes, and then, well, when we talk about this, yes, and then when we talk about what is not too good. lacking. So before I then a word on regional identity. It's also something I found in your EcoRegion documents, especially that referring to tourism. But it's of course do we have a regional identity? There was a report published by a German professor recently on this question, saying, well, no, there's not really a common identity of Baltic Sea people living around the Baltic Sea, but there are some shared traits, some shared elements, what people here have in common. And for example, one example which is quite striking at the moment is when we have a look at the financial economic crisis in Europe, then we see there's a difference in how states here around the Baltic Sea have overcome their problems. Scandinavian countries some time ago, Baltic countries are still struggling, but doing it better than southeastern countries, and Poland was very dynamic, maybe the most dynamic country within the European Union at the moment. So there's a culture of stability. So that's what our minister would call it, a culture of stability common to our Baltic Sea countries. And well, this is not a regional identity, but I think it's a quite strong element connecting us. And the same is valid for, and when you talk about sustainable tourism, can we develop a common concept of tourism, branding, so Baltic Sea tourism, common brand, not just Mecklenburg-Vorpommern or Pomorie or Kaliningrad Oblast, but as to something in common. And Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is very active, and they're going to organize a tourism forum next year in Warnemünde. So this is an important thing for CBSS. Then the third is it's more economic, it's public-private partnerships, creating a network to exchange best practices on how to organize public-private partnerships in a way that they work. I don't know if this can be interesting for sustainable development too. We'll see when starting that. And the fourth is coherence. That's just what we talked about when we talked about EU Baltic strategy and CBSS. This connecting different structures to avoid duplication, to create synergy. But I think you're a good example here in EcoRegion for just practicing that really on a project level. And so we just have to follow on a political level, which is not that easy, but I think we can make progress there. So then, that's what we just had. And then we talked about the five circles, the five long-term priorities of the CBSS. There's of course one, and not the least important, is environment and sustainability. And there you find all the, don't have to repeat what is there on the floor, but I think that's very, very well known to all of you. Then second, economic development. In fact, it's maybe a little bit misleading because we specialize on maritime policy. We have an expert group in maritime policy, where our Ministry of Transport is leading. And they have they have quite interesting discussions at the moment. I don't know how discussions are going on here. It's about the new lower emission standards for ship fuels. Reduced standards for sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide. There's a binding legal convention by MARPOL, International Maritime Organization, reducing the standards, and this will create changes for the ship owners, for the whole ship transport, and then will even be a kind of a modal shift, so to say, transport going from ships to land, and land is either lorries or train. And this, of course, is quite an important development, and there are many people discussing about economic and also environmental consequences. So people saying of course, is for environment and for climate, and to fight climate change, that we have these lower standards. And now people are coming and saying, if this means that we change sea transport, so ship transport, into to lorry transport on the roads, then maybe it's not the effect we wanted to. So all this will be discussed there in this level. Then education and culture, also important for this question of identity, but also it's more than that. It's mobility. It's about organizing meetings of young people, cultural cooperation. We have Ars Baltica in Schleswig-Holstein, network of people in culture, so films and arts and so on. And we have university cooperation, Euro faculties. At the moment there's one project in Pskov, Russian city in 500 border. And then energy. In fact, well, it's a separate structure, it's a separate group, but they also have strong focus on energy efficiency and renewable energy. So it's not so far from your task. So, but I think this is still a challenge to bring, when we talk about energy, to bring environment people and energy people together and act together. So it's not just between, so we have two ministries in Berlin, environment and economics, and they are all of the same opinion. I can imagine that's the same in other countries too. And then we have civil security and human dimension. I want to elaborate on that. Oh, there come the others that I have talked about that. Public-private partnership and coherence. And so we have. So there we have, of course, these are the networks. There you find yourself. You find yourself on top. But it's not only today that they present it like that. You're always on the top. Not just also because I think you're really not the least important. And then finally a word on the highlights of the German presidency, because it's also something CBSS can offer. We're going to organize a foreign ministers meeting 6th and 7th of February in Schloss Plön, north of Hamburg, also to celebrate the 20th anniversary. CBSS, together with the founding fathers, it was a Danish-German foundation, CBSS, some of you know maybe, it was Uffe Ellemann-Jensen and Hans-Dietrich Genscher. They're both still alive and going strong, so they will be invited to join foreign ministers to celebrate. And then around the 24th of April, so there will be several days in fact, I think we start 23 and will take time to 25. We organize Baltic Sea Days in Berlin, bringing together all players, stakeholders, well not all, but as many as possible I would say, together in Berlin. So then for some days we say Berlin will be at the Baltic Sea. So not 250 kilometers distance, but it will be at the Baltic Sea, and all stakeholders coming and meeting there on their own in their circles. They will be invited for a festive event together with our federal president Wolf. We will organize one event where everybody's organized. So as far as I know from our Ministry of Environment, they're also planning to plan it, and they're also planning to give those days also environmental, sustainable development character. So, and then the 30th and 31st of May 2012, Baltic Sea State Summit meeting of the heads of government hosted by Chancellor Merkel. This will take place in Stralsund, traditional city of the Hanse League. So this hopefully, and then 1st of July we hand over presidency to Russia, and then Russia will follow up. Of course, there's much more information on our own website, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and on the website of the Secretariat, CBSS Secretariat in Stockholm. So I think this gave you a short idea on what we are and what we're doing in CBSS in general. I'd like to stress once again, I think it's very important and interesting what you're doing here, to have as a starting point these model regions, model cities acting on different sectors of sustainable development, and thereby giving example for the whole Baltic Sea region. And I think it's still enough to do to make the whole Baltic Sea region a model region for a model eco-region for the world. So it's very ambitious, but I think you made a good start. It's a good start, and I wish you all success in continuing and enlarging your network and your implying more and more stakeholders and actors. So good luck for the future, and well, thank you for